At this moment, Kaya is somewhat angry. You are my senior brother. How could you use me as a guinea pig and then hide far away yourself? Can't you change to a fish next time? Kinzo smiled and said, Isn't it nice to get you involved too? It is our duty as disciples to help Master cross the tribulation. Let's strike while the iron is hot, and do it a few more times, just in case. Kaya's face instantly turned pale at the thought. A moment later, lightning flashed again at Little Peak. The commotion continued for a full 3 days, until Master woke up from sudden enlightenment. Master looked at the originally beautiful mountain peaks. At this moment, they had turned into ruins. He was so angry that even his nose started running. Master threw a fist at Kinzo's head. Don't you focus on cultivating with junior sister instead of messing around. Kaya quickly defended senior brother. Senior brother helped you make a treasure to resist the heavenly tribulation. It took dozens or even hundreds of lightning strikes to turn into this. Master's face suddenly changed dramatically after hearing this. He stood motionless in place. Kinzo thought that Master was deeply moved, but Master's next words almost scared him to death. My heavenly tribulation has arrived, he said. At that moment, the smile on Kinzo's face disappeared instantly. There were still many plans that he had not prepared. But at this moment, there was no other way. He immediately took out the immortal melting pill that he had prepared long ago. He told Master that this pill was refined with all his efforts and thoughts. After the first heavenly tribulation passed, if he felt that he couldn't resist the next heavenly tribulation, he would immediately take it. Master pushed him away and said, Keep this pill for yourself. Just use it when you are crossing the tribulation in the future. No need to waste this pill on me. Kinzo became anxious immediately after hearing this. If Master, you do not accept this pill, I will destroy it now. Then he was still afraid that Master would refuse, and he revealed his trump card. Moreover, I still have 11 of these pills. Master was almost moved to tears after hearing the first half of his sentence. However, the second half of the sentence once again left the disciple speechless as always, watching the increasing number of thunderclouds in the sky. Kinzo couldn't help but exclaim that this is not right. How did this heavenly tribulation come so suddenly without any warning? But now, we can't worry about that anymore. He directly pushed Master into the newly prepared iron cage. Later, he instructed Master that the pill must be taken after the first heavenly tribulation. Rain looked up at the sky, determination flashing in his eyes. I will also give it all I've got this time. Suddenly, a dragon's roar echoed across the sky. A crimson dragon appeared above the dark clouds. Then, a dragon claw fiercely slapped onto the mountain protection formation. The person in charge of the Immortal Salvation sect came out to respond. Isn't this Master's tribulation cloud? Kaya looked at senior brother Kinzo with a puzzled expression, resting one hand against his forehead. His face was filled with a speechless look. And Master in the iron cage directly feigned unconsciousness. He actually mistook the dark clouds accompanying the crimson dragon as thunder tribulation. He embarrassed himself this time. At this moment, the crimson dragon is constantly circling outside the sect formation. The pressure of the heaven immortal pervades all corners of the immortal sect through the formation. I saw a figure standing with hands behind the back, looking at the little dragon in front, who didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. This person is the master of the Jioshin Immortal Salvation Sect, Heaven Immortal Asher. The haughty red-scaled azure dragon looked at him. You are the one in charge of the Immortal Salvation Sect. Asher didn't even look at him. The plain voice instantly spread inside and outside the formation. I'm just a casual cultivator from the sect. It's not my turn to take charge of the Immortal Salvation Sect. I just feel that your little dragon is too disrespectful. I came out specifically to teach you a lesson. Bold. The crimson dragon roared angrily in the clouds. It was about to attack Asher directly. Asher's killing intent burst out instantly. Facing this overwhelming attack, he simply extended one finger. The next second, the giant dragon claw stopped abruptly in midair, unable to descend any further. You just attained the status of heaven immortal and dare to act arrogantly in my immortal salvation sect. Are you bored, Asher? He lightly flicked his finger. The mountain-like dragon claw instantly shattered, exploding into the sky filled with clouds and mist. The crimson dragon screamed in pain. This human race immortal is too terrifying. The crimson dragon was scared by a single blow, hastily invoking its own background. I am a special envoy of the East Sea Dragon Palace, the commander-in-chief of the Dragon Palace Water Army. You are so rude. I will inform the Dragon King that in a few days, we will gather our troops and horses to crush this little mountain gate of yours. Asher looked at him coldly. My immortal salvation sect is also part of the human race lineage. We benefit from the protection of the human race's luck. Could it be that you, as the vanguard, intentionally want to provoke a conflict between us human race, cultivators, and your dragon race? Crimson Dragon was suddenly shocked, but dared not speak rashly. The present is different from the past. During the Great War of the Witch Clan, the human race was still weak. But now, the human race is the protagonist of the world. Our prosperity far surpasses that of the ancient Witch Clan. It says it can't compete verbally, and it can't win in a fight. There is no one to support it behind the scenes either. Crimson Dragon hastily dropped an invitation card. After 3 years, a demon-slaying convention will be held on the shore of the East Sea, inviting all immortal sects of the Godland to gather. With that said, it hurriedly fled. The Crimson Dragon intended to show its might to the immortal salvation sect, but ended up in a sorry state, fleeing in embarrassment. Kaya watched as Asher left. She quietly asked senior brother, "Is this the world of the strong?" Kenzo, in his eyes, was not considered a strong person. He was merely a skilled fighter. On the other hand, Master was getting ready to slip away sneakily. The two of them laughed heartily, leaning forward and backward. Time flies by. In the blink of an eye, it's already a year and 9 months later. At this moment, the sky is filled with flashing lightning and rolling thunder, with tribulation cloud densely gathered. This heavenly tribulation is real this time. Kenzo has done everything that he should do. The next top priority task is to observe and record the process of his master crossing the tribulation up close. Take thorough notes to lay a solid foundation for a 100% success rate in your own heavenly tribulation in the future. To attain immortality, there are only 9 heavenly tribulations. They are determined by the aptitude of the one crossing the tribulation and the potential they have after attaining immortality. Different levels of heavenly tribulation will come down from the sky. The more thunder tribulations there are, the stronger the person's potential is in the future. At the same time, the difficulty will also increase. Rain slightly frowned. He thought it would be the weakest 3 thunder heavenly tribulation, but unexpectedly, he would have to face 5 thunder tribulations. The tribulation cloud kept trembling at this moment. Suddenly, it transformed into a bright lightning pillar and smashed down on Rain's head. When thunder appeared, the heavens and the earth all paled in comparison. The surge containing the greatest principles of heaven and earth, along with the thunder tribulation, came crashing down. Heavenly tribulation that cannot be resisted by magical artifacts according to logic. At this moment, it was completely absorbed by the lightning rod device made by Kenzo. Kaya suddenly exclaimed excitedly, "Senior brother, look! The birdcage works!" Kenzo didn't have time to be happy yet. He then discovered that the Great Path energy wave was destroying the birdcage. The next second, the birdcage exploded directly. Heaven Path truly does not allow any shortcuts. But that's enough for now. At least, he helped Master withstand the first thunder tribulation. The tribulation of attaining immortality can only be resisted forcibly. Rain's face turned serious as his body slowly rose into the air. He was enduring the terrifying second and third thunder tribulations. At this moment, he is already having some difficulty holding on. In the Great Path, everything revolves according to fate. Even if he were to die, he cannot die in embarrassment before them. He wants his disciples to know that the Master never lacks this firm determination towards the path. Come forth, The power of the heaven path heavenly tribulation gathers madly. The fourth wave of the heavenly tribulation descends directly. Rain looks up and roars angrily. He appears as if he were the grim reaper. The thunder tribulation instantly blasted a big pit into the ground. And at this moment, he only had one last breath left. Master. Master woke up drowsily to the sound of his disciple calling him. He gritted his teeth. He took out the pill that Kinzo had given him. Master didn't hesitate to put the pill into his mouth. But the next second, Master looked at his body in surprise. What's going on? Why am I starting to melt? What did Kinzo give me to eat? After a while, Master dissolved between heaven and earth, turning into a puddle of blood. Then, 3 colored immortal lights descended from the clouds. The clear and turbid energies slowly gathered. His body began to reshape gradually. He was surrounded by fluttering petals, and a lotus bloomed on top of his head. Warrior transformation into a pure immortal. It's unbelievable that there are still people who can refine this pill. The onlookers were amazed. Unpure immortal is actually no different from most immortals. Rain always thought of using the heavenly tribulation to die for his beliefs. However, he ignored the efforts of 2 disciples who wanted him to stay alive. He left behind tears of joy. Then figures flew in from all directions. They congratulated Rain repeatedly. Impure Immortal had a merry few tens of thousands of years as an immortal too. At this moment, Master is accepting congratulations in the crowd. He suddenly heard Kinzo's voice transmission. If someone asks you what pill is used for warrior transformation, say it is the immortal melting pill, and the method to use the immortal melting pill is in the corner of the second-to-last bookshelf in the Taoist Cannon Hall. If someone asks if Master has any spare immortal melting pills left, you can promise a maximum of 3. This thing easily brings trouble, so be cautious. After saying this, Kinzo went to contemplate Master's experience of crossing the tribulation. This person not only achieves sudden enlightenment as easily as drinking water, and the lotus all over his body at this moment is actually many times more than the Master after attain immortality. With Master's experience of crossing the tribulation this time, Kinzo has gained a better grasp of the heavenly tribulation. Once he accumulates more profound strength, he won't need to suppress the realm to start crossing the tribulation, but crossing the tribulation cannot be done within the sect. Otherwise, at least half of the hard-earned trump cards accumulated over the years would be exposed. Kinzo had entered the state of sudden enlightenment as he kept thinking. He suddenly looked startled while practicing breathing and meditation. Someone had arrived. He quickly dissipated the lotus around him, and sealed off the aura that had almost been exposed just now. In his mind, he thought, it seems he still needs to go to the underground secret room for cultivation. Indeed, it is worthy of you. The visitor is none other than Jace, your master, who is hosting a banquet to entertain guests. Yet you are hiding here, sleeping in laziness. Your junior sister's slim legs almost ran off. Kinzo could only smile awkwardly. Jace took out a jade token. He threw the jade token to Kinzo. Have a look. What is this? Don't accuse me of only hanging out with you to drink your wine. Not giving benefits to your wine and meat buddy. This item is the Immortal Salvation Sect Peak Suppressing Tau Legacy. The Scripture of Non-Action, Volume 1. Kinzo was somewhat surprised. Is it appropriate for senior sect uncle? Jace looked at him thoughtfully. What's inappropriate about that? With your talent and cultivation achievement, you are completely capable. I remember last time you drank with me, it seems like you had a breakthrough in a small stage. When was the last time? Kinzo remembered it. He remembered now. It turns out he got drunk with senior sect uncle last time. He suddenly felt a sensation and accidentally broke through on the spot. And Jace recalled the scene at that time. He was almost scared to death at that time. Giving a reward for enlightenment truly makes him a divine person. Looking at Kinzo's distressed expression, Jace appeared somewhat smug and relieved. Don't worry, I did not reveal the fact that your cultivation achievement has already reached stage 6 of the return to void level. The scripture of non-action is something I worked hard to obtain for you. How about you? Do you want to cultivate? No merit, no reward. How could Kinzo not know what he's up to? It's nothing but the demon-slaying convention invited by the EC Dragon Palace. Compared to the treasure of cultivating, Kinzo is more focused on the demon-slaying convention. He is even less willing to expose his true strength. You do observe carefully, Jay seems a bit helpless. Actually, I didn't want to trouble you this time. But there aren't many clever disciples in this generation. The most experienced writer in handling matters now has grass 3 feet high on his grave. Others in the sect do not know that you, Kinzo, have a lot of bad intentions. And this time, my master is personally leading the team. There is definitely security guaranteed. But no matter what he says, Kinzo still upholds the determination to peak survive until death. Jay sighed. He was also not someone facing insurmountable difficulties. Just need to check and make up for any deficiencies in the ranking of sect disciples. This ranking needs to be remade. Kinzo surrendered without hesitation when he heard it. The next day, Emi also found Kinzo's residence. Junior sister immediately became unhappy on the spot. They all came to look for their own senior brother. Senior brother only went out once, and was immediately targeted by the 2 beauties who were with him at the time. How unfair. Moreover, these 2 beauties are getting kaguya by the minute. No contrast, no harm done. The story of watermelons and washboards. Junior sister felt so frustrated that she almost cried. Kaya completely couldn't understand what aspect of his senior brother was so attractive. He clearly has a cautious and timid personality who fears death and values life. How could there be other women besides her who are interested in him? Moreover, this woman is still the most dazzling star among the disciples of the same generation. A master's junior has already put enormous pressure on herself. Suddenly, an Emi falls from the sky. Kaya can't help but grit her teeth. Indeed, she must do whatever it takes to defeat senior brother as soon as possible. Otherwise, she will have more worries as the night gets longer. Emi originally came to express gratitude. But at this moment, Kinzo is in seclusion. So the 3 women staged a play. They started playing Kinzo's self-created casual card game, Immortal World Monopoly. Gradually, the grass hut was filled with laughter and joy. The previous embarrassment had long disappeared. At dusk, Kinzo spotted Emi's figure from afar. He could see with his spiritual sense that the room was in a mess at this moment. The floor was full of bottles. 2 women were sleeping heavily in different positions. Emi appeared more refined, just holding a pink bra in her hand. They seemed to be having a great time. Kinzo was speechless. Suddenly, a breaking sound came from the sky. Kinzo casually took the jade sword, and a voice came from inside the jade sword. Little Peak, Kinzo, come quickly to the Hall of Wonders for a meeting. This gathering is for the EC Demon Slaying Convention. Kinzo is hiding in the crowd to avoid drawing too much attention to himself. Indeed, he has not been discovered by anyone. Elder was reading out the mission on the stage one by one. Suddenly his gaze swept over the 10 people below the stage. Then he glanced at Kinzo in the corner. He quickly corrected himself, saying, "You 11 people. You have the highest level of cultivation achievement among the disciples of the present generation. You are also the most agile individuals. Remember, you must not disgrace the reputation of our immortal salvation sect. And you must not lose our demeanor." Later he pondered for a while before saying, "There is one more thing. It was personally instructed by Asher." When Little Peak, Kinzo heard his own name being mentioned by the elder, he knew he was in trouble. As expected, when the elder told him, "This time when we go out, all the young disciples will need to follow your orders. You will be the leader of the young disciples." Kinzo's mouth twitched abruptly. Can this be right? Everyone's gaze gathered in one place for a moment. Large question marks loomed over everyone's heads. Kinzo quietly grumbled, "Why would a disciple of Return to Void Realm Stage 2 be selected as the leader?" Definitely intentional. Jace is definitely intentional. This Jace is forcing him to reveal his cards. Originally Kinzo thought he could just mix in and be done with it. Anyway, he had the support of the big boss. He used to think he wouldn't lose out on this, but now it seems he is losing a lot. You have to hide even if you can't hide. Following his consistent principles, Kinzo promptly declined. Elder is a little dissatisfied at the moment. You seem to have some doubts about Asher's order. I dare not, but this matter seems a bit suspicious. Kinzo's reaction was extremely fast. He immediately came up with a good idea. May I ask boldly? Was the decree given by Master in person, or was it conveyed by Jace, senior sect uncle, on his behalf? After confirming that it was conveyed by Jace, Kinzo's heart relaxed slightly. Then he revealed a mischievous smile. If Jace strikes first, don't blame me, senior sect uncle. Next, he began his Oscar-winning performance. With a look of shame on his face, I don't hide it from you, Elder. I always drink with Jace, senior sect uncle. Once, after getting drunk with senior sect uncle, I jokingly asked him to help me make a name for myself. I never imagined that senior sect uncle would take it seriously, and actually made such arrangements. I am incompetent, and dare not take on tasks recklessly. Please enlighten me, Elder. Everyone suddenly realized what was going on. They all felt that this disciple was being taken advantage of by Jace. It was quite difficult. The hostility in their eyes gradually dissipated. At this moment, there was more sympathy for Kinzo. Jace, who is thousands of miles away. He couldn't help but sneeze. He didn't know that Kinzo had already ruined his reputation at this moment. Elder also knew that this matter was no child's play. He had just decided to find another person. Suddenly, Emmy stepped forward saying, I am willing to take on this heavy responsibility. Kinzo was momentarily stunned. What's happening today? Junior sister understands his intentions so well. But before he could even feel happy, the next moment, Emmy then suggested that the elder appoint 2 team leaders. I will take the role along with senior brother Kinzo. This way, both needs can be met. At that moment, Kinzo's face twisted with anger. It seems that Emmy is still Emmy. Just at that moment, Emmy's gaze was full of determination. Hand it over to me, Kinzo. I will definitely not make it difficult for you. I really thank you. At this moment, Kinzo felt completely speechless. The team leader had already been kicked out of this job. He didn't expect to be kicked back in by Emmy. She sealed the door shut while she was at it, with 2 heavenly immortal level seals. Fortunately, he had already shifted the blame to Jace, portraying himself as an innocent victim of being played with miserably. Jace did this in order to quickly gain Sect's attention. But from Kinzo's perspective, it's pure chaos. Having 1 less card in his hand means additional danger in his eyes. And the matter of his master being injured in his early years. Only he knows best that master was harmed by his own people. Asher's family started high and rose fast. Sky Peak, the strongest, makes Jace completely unable to see the petty tricks within the sect. So Kinzo had to be on guard, especially in this seemingly peaceful environment. At least keep 2 or 3 cards for yourself, and add a base card worth 10,000 later. He actually wants to write a thank you speech to the Heavenly Tribulation at this moment. He wants to thank Senior Heaven Path for taking time out of his busy schedule to personally strike him. In line with the principle of believing that it is better to believe it exists than to believe it does not, he also plans to outline a set of guidelines for himself to follow when facing the Heavenly Tribulation. He must remind himself constantly. Do not raise the middle finger. Do not curse loudly. Do not criticize Heaven Path in your heart. Remind yourself repeatedly that Heavenly Tribulation is an opportunity given to you. It is a chance where risks and opportunities coexist. Goodness. His level of enlightenment is considered top-notch in the world of cultivation. Kinzo plans to secretly cross the tribulation when he goes to the East Sea this time. In the days leading up to his departure, he spent most of his time cultivating the scripture of non-action. Steadily cultivating to perfection. His certainty in overcoming the heavenly tribulation should be around 95%. However, this is not enough for him. The goal he set for himself is to face the strongest ninefold thunder tribulation to ensure zero mistakes. He has started developing a new set of collapsible birdcage designs. He has such a divine artifact. His grasp of the heavenly tribulation has improved again. But what he wants is a 100% success rate. Kenzo feels that crossing the tribulation is a job that should not be rushed. He still needs to prepare meticulously a few more times. For days passed in the blink of an eye. Several big shots sat on Bayun Mountain guarding the disciples of the sect. Kenzo sat closest to Asher. In case of an emergency, he would be the first one to be rescued. At the same time, Emmy came over and asked Kenzo, "Can I sit here, senior brother?" Kenzo was a bit speechless and thought to himself, "Just sit down if you want. I'll move in a bit." However, on the surface, he still agreed. But he pointed to a slightly further place with his finger. Kenzo glanced at her and noticed unexpectedly that she was wearing a pair of transparent gloves on her hands. This girl is quite thoughtful. Emmy now intentionally or unintentionally wants to exchange a few words with Kenzo. But Kenzo responds to such a beautiful woman with nothing but perfunctory replies. Nevertheless, he has also incurred the jealousy of many male disciples. To avoid provoking hatred, Kenzo simply turned his head away. Kenzo looked at the beautiful scenery and chatted awkwardly with Emmy, until Emmy ran out of topics. Emmy tried hard to keep the conversation going. Unfortunately, most of her life experiences were about cultivate, and she couldn't recite a passage from the Tao Te Ching on the spot. Perhaps she was just finding it too difficult to ponder. Kenzo also felt somewhat unwilling. Take care of yourself first. Later on, junior sister, you still have a heavy responsibility to shoulder. Speaking of which, why must the young disciples sent out by each immortal sect this time be people under the age of 150? Because the dragon egg of the dragon takes at least 150 years to hatch, while the young dragon is essentially cultivating inside the dragon egg. The young dragon of the Dragon Palace displays extraordinary strength as soon as it hatches. If they cultivate for 100 years, they can attain immortality, especially if they have the bloodline of the Dragon King. They will also possess powerful symbiosis abilities. So the Dragon Palace always lets the young dragons come out to show off their strength, using this opportunity to ridicule the human cultivators. Kenzo faces the continuous flirting of the iceberg beauty. Kenzo still adheres to his own principles. He absolutely cannot give up Taoist heart just because the other party is a beautiful woman. It's not good to attract too much hatred. At the same time, less than a kilometer away from the Dragon Palace, suddenly huge water lotuses continuously emerge from the water surface. This is the ancient formation that the Dragon Palace takes pride in. Subsequently, accompanied by the blossoming of the lotus, one after another, the dragon's roar resounded through the sky, only to see several massive dragons flying up and down around the lotus. And around the lotus, 3,000 immortal flood dragons guard it evenly. They are responsible for maintaining order at this demon-slaying convention. After the immortal flood dragon soldiers suspended in midair, they each dispersed their momentum. The scene instantly became even more spectacular. Dragon is indeed a camel that starved to death, but is bigger than a horse. Kenzo secretly sighed in his heart. They are absolutely not to be enemies with, nor do they need to be friends. It's best not to get involved with their karma. And at this moment, everyone is discussing it one after another. They believe that Dragon Palace likes to show off its power with these false pretenses. Who doesn't know about Dragon's current predicament? From Dragon's current performance, Dragon, the former overlord of the world, still seems unwilling to fade into obscurity. Although they still qualify as powerful now. Think back to before they confer the title of God. That was the existence of the ancient three giants. Kenzo sighed deeply in his heart. He firmly made up his mind not to go out and explore until he reached the Great Luo Golden Immortal level. Suddenly, a golden turtle appeared in front of everyone. The turtle chancellor standing on both sides made a gesture of invitation. Immortal sect elders, please proceed to the upper immortal platform. Disciples, please take your seats around. This scene looked quite comical. After everyone took their seats, they all curiously tasted the delicious food from the Dragon Palace. Kinzo is the only one looking around nervously. In every new environment, the first thing he does is to look for the nearest exit. Especially in the Dragon Palace's territory. Not to mention that dragons are of a different race, and the human race conflicts with them in interests. Danger could strike at any time. Although there is water everywhere in this place, wind escape is more suitable for escaping here, because the winds are stronger at sea. Suddenly, a series of loud noises kept ringing out while he was thinking. Kinzo was completely dumbfounded. Can't people be a bit more discreet when passing gas in public places? He didn't even have a chance to complain. The next moment, Julia unleashed a deafening thunder. Its power was truly terrifying. Kinzo was speechless. It was truly embarrassing to the extreme. And at this moment, that icy beauty's face turned bright red. She was trying hard to control the gas about to erupt within her body. After all, in everyone's impression, fairies do not fart. Fortunately, the Dragon Palace was just teasing people and did not directly poison anyone. Otherwise, relying on this group of teammates, Kinzo might as well just go die. While no one was around, the sect elder quickly set up an isolation formation. This formation is meant for disciples to fart. Even though the apprentice was not lucky, and was tricked by the Dragon Palace from the beginning. But everyone became more cautious because of this. The following days were uneventful. Dragon performed various talents for 3 days and 3 nights. The crowd went from excited on the first day to listless on the second day. By the third day, they simply fell asleep. Kinzo, on the other hand, didn't care. He was always thinking about how to become an actor and how to lose to the weakest person. 230 years ago, Anthony had his own consciousness inside the dragon egg. From then on, various teachers began to instill in him that dragons were the most powerful race in the world. They are natural powerhouses and the true masters of the world. And he is the second dragon son, the contemporary dragon king. Their bloodline passed down from their ancestors is even purer. It is very likely to impact the legendary Great Lu realm. But Anthony remembers it clearly. One day, a drunken teacher once revealed the truth. He told him many things about the dragon's unbearable situation. In fact, the dragon had long been lonely, with saints in the sky and the human race on earth. The ancient war between the two races caused countless creatures to suffer. And the dragon also bears the responsibility that can never be washed away for eternity. They are rejected by heaven and earth. Their luck has been sealed off by the heaven path. Since then, Anthony discovered a sad fact. Nowadays, most of the dragon tribes still cling to the ancient dream of dominance. They believe that the dragon tribe is the strongest. For this reason, they constantly promote the use of force. But they dare not truly go to war with the human race. In plain terms, he is just a puppet that his own kind has high hopes for, continuing to act as a puppet that upholds the dignity of the hegemon. Today, Anthony is about to do something significant. He intends to openly lose to the weakest member of the Immortal Salvation sect. He wants to wake up those tribesmen who are intoxicated by ancient dreams. At the same time, Kinzo, who was feeling bored, suddenly felt that a gaze was staring at him. And this gaze belongs to Anthony, the son of the Dragon King. At this moment, his heart is full of doubt. Are you feeling unwell?